And we are live in a hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, all the above. Sean Brace, John Jansen with you here. Daily Ticket, Fox Sports Radio to Gambler. Always deal with some echoes / gremlins in the system to get the party started. John, how we doing today, sir? How you feeling after the Celtics pop-up banner number 18 in the rafters?
18's a wild number, so it is kind of weird hearing that. But still, I mean, we've expected this for how long? So,
yeah,
I don't know. It was just like an inevitable thing that was going to happen. I mean, probably since the playoffs started. And everybody's saying these playoffs sucked and they were boring. I think the only boring part of it was it's just the Celtics were just too good. That was it. The rest of it was good. You know, Minnesota story. Knicks fun. It's just Boston. Boston made it boring. We all knew. Everybody knew it was going to be Boston. Everybody. And if you didn't say Boston, you were just a hater. It was Boston.
Yes, I do agree with that somewhat. I do think that there is a little bit more to be made of the lack of competition, especially on the East side,
Boston
right?
Lost 3 games the entire postseason. 3.
Yeah.
I mean, it was easy. Of course, it was a little bit boring on that end. The team that won it did it in pretty easy fashion.
Well, here we are. Boston gets the job done. A really cool note. The one thing, a couple items real fast if we can. We're going to hit on everything, Phillies, the whole nine. I got an interesting Bryson DeChambeau conversation that maybe I'm wrong on. We touched on it yesterday. I want to bring it back, and I want to get the people's thoughts on that. So we'll open up the socials and see what everybody has to say about that. But on Boston's perspective, you know, immediately our minds go to how far the 76ers away from this, why Boston again and not the Sixers. You know, my mind immediately goes to, and I put it out earlier this morning, the beginning of The Last Dance with Michael Jordan. He said that, you know, his goal is to make the Chicago Bulls in the same conversation as the great teams in the NBA, such as the Boston Celtics, the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Los Angeles Lakers. Now,
does anyone want to be the Sixers now? Probably not.
Hell no.
Hell no.
Hell no. That's not even up for debate. But how the hell did we get here? That's for another day, I guess. But most NBA titles all time. Boston now the front runner with 18, Lakers with 17, Warriors with 7, Bulls with 6, and the Spurs with 5. Notice I didn't say anything about our Philadelphia 76ers. So here we are. And it's like I said, I'm having no time or don't even want to give any effort to what do the Sixers need to do. But I do think the Celtics deserve a ton of credit for not hitting the panic button. It could have been easy for them to say, this isn't happening. You know, Doc Rivers came out last week and said on a podcast that playing at home was tough for our players. I got news for you. It ain't easy in Boston either, right? And I know that they've had more success making it further in the playoffs, but at the end of the day, they never won a championship. And they kept Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum together, and it goes down in history as the most games played by a duo without winning a championship. It finally came to an end last night.
What was that? Last season where they started off poorly and they were thinking like maybe we do get rid of Jaylen Brown, and there wasn't a panic, but there was like okay, something's not right here. But what they did was they just retooled. That's what they've been doing. They found the core, they found Brown and Tatum, which they loved, and they were just kind of messing around with all the pieces around them, and it's just making smart moves over and over again. Like Kristaps Porzingis was an awesome move. Drew Holiday, I think some people could have said he maybe overpaid for Drew Holiday because there was a big deal and a big trade that they got him with, but still it was a great trade. And it was ultimately, I think it was one of the reasons why they won the Eastern Conference Finals so easily, because Drew Holiday played well and was a big part of the NBA Finals too. So it's Boston just continued to retool over and over and over again and make the right moves and build this team and get younger somehow in some ways. I don't know how, but it's just all the things the Sixers don't do, you know, and the Sixers haven't done in years and years and years and years.
I think that there are plenty of people on the timeline right now, in my opinion, that want to believe that if Sam Hinkie was still in charge and never forced out by the
Oh.
NBA, that it would have translated to more success for this franchise. I'm
I don't know
fine
if
if
he
you
would have been as bad as Colangelo, but I don't.
correct.
There's nothing that would have told me he would have been just as good or better.
Well, I would just say to your point, I can see where people are coming from on that standard where Sam Hinkie clearly wanted to stay young, clearly wanted to have the assets, clearly wanted to have the young players. And I don't know if he hits the fast forward button and or the gas pedal, excuse me, and makes a trade for whoever it was that kind of like the Markel Fultz out. I don't know if he's making the trade that bumped some of these players or bumped up the timeline, excuse me. And we'll never know, but it is something that I definitely hit me last night. And especially, when you see that stat that Boston allowed things to play out, did
Yeah.
not get forced into making a bad trade or a bad decision due to the pressure from the fans or, ownership or the media. Everything I feel like all the above, as I just said, did have an impact on the 76ers for worse, not for better, for worse.
Yeah. Well, it felt like Boston had an idea of what they wanted, had an identity of what they wanted. Drew Holiday was brought in to be a defensive player, can be a guard. Because remember, they had some guard problems last year. Marcus Smart was a good defender, but the thing is, Marcus Smart couldn't distribute or handle the ball. And Drew Holiday was another ball handler and a really good ball handler. So they brought him in, and that was a great change. They brought stuff in that fit what they needed and fit around what Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown needed. Like it was all for fit, and it just feels like with the Sixers, it's never that. It's just get the biggest name player you can, or even the best player you can, and just hope it works. So I don't know. It's just Boston has just found fits, and they had an idea of what they wanted. They had an identity of what they wanted, and they went out and got it. And it didn't matter whatever it took. Again, overpay or overspend for a Drew Holiday in the trade market, but it doesn't matter because he was exactly what they needed, and that was the biggest change.
They're saying last night he's the best defensive guard in the game.
Wow, he is. Whoa, really?
That's what I said. I go, Drew Holiday's the best defensive guard. He's amazing. He's incredible. I'm not going to sit here and say,
right.
But to say somebody's the best in the game at that age is a prisoner of the moment because he's still playing. Is that what it is?
Always said before. I don't know. Have we been saying this about Drew Holiday for years?
You're right. You're right. Not the best defensive guard in the game. You're right. It's been more along the lines of he's damn good defender.
He's right, really good defender, and decent score overall. Just great, good championship player.
Yeah. Luke checking in. He says Celtics went out and got the guys. Multiple signings that were made impactful. That was the difference. Now, you're right, Luke. That's to get over the championship hump. I'm with you there. But we know that this team has had success in previous years. They went to a championship or an NBA Finals a few seasons ago, lost to the Warriors. Yeah, they went out and made the change. But even before then, we're still talking about a team that was being discussed as winning it all, number one, and getting to the promised land and not winning it all. But, they lost to a damn good Warriors team in that Finals. But this is a team that just has it, man. The mentality, the front office decisions, of course, the moves that they made were the ultimate difference for them to get over the hump this year. Porzingis, Andrew Holiday, and White, all three incredible players to go along with what they already drafted in Brown and Tatum. I'm already sick of it. I can't stomach. I honestly was so grateful that it was a blowout last night, like we predicted. Oh, I got to give you credit. Nice. Great call yesterday.
I did feel pretty good about how that game went, about how everything right. And Tatum.
Well, we all had the blowout. We all had the -7. We were all on the same page there. But the Tatum leading score at plus 350 was a great call. And all I said was I would take him on the over at 27.5. I was definitely concerned that I didn't think he'd get anything from Kyrie, and you didn't. I thought Luka was going to go off. But
Kyrie was awful. Kyrie was
awesome.
awful.
We knew it. We discussed it yesterday. We said don't
right. We did discuss it, but just to see it in action, how bad he was in that game.
He's passive. Yeah, and He's definitely shot. He's shell shocked in that arena, on that stage in Boston, and it was evident to see in games 1 and 2. Of course, last night you saw it. He just got caught up in the wrong things, and I'm not going to sit here and say if he didn't, they win that series, but I think they have a much better chance. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Anyways.
I just know that Tatum leading scorer cashed only because Tatum at the end of the game when it was all over, he was just padding some stats. He really was.
Oh,
Tatum's
definitely.
Yeah, I'm just gonna take all these shots.
Oh,
He's like,
the
I'm
NBA
gonna
Finals.
3 points. I'm gonna try and get the NBA MVP or the Finals MVP. I'm gonna go. He went all in for it. You could definitely tell he was going for it.
So there was something popped up a week ago that I was watching. It was NBA Finals from. Was it that series? No, it was against the Cavs, and Iggy won the MVP, and it bothered Steph. Steph had a bad game in the final game. I think they swept them, if I'm not mistaken. And Steph was just pulling up from all over and not making anything. And he was shook post game. Like Iggy had to console him because he wanted that Finals MVP. We often talk about legacy, and that comes up, and I think entirely too soon for most of these players. And Tatum is one of those guys that they were discussing legacy. I'm like, guys, what's he, 26 years old? But when you get to the end of your career and you have those milestone markers to look back on, of course, that's when legacy comes up. And, we will always remember Andre Iguodala won Finals MVP, right? It's one of those. Yeah, it's one of those things where if you can get that award, it just adds to the fact that you won the championship. It goes without saying. Of course, we all understand that.
Yeah, and Jason Tatum is starting to build a legacy, and Jaylen Brown is starting to build a legacy. It's just now we're going to be doing this forever and ever. Which one was better? We're already going to start having these, and that's when we're going to start this is the kind of thing that's going to separate these two in the conversation. And the fact that Brown gets a Finals MVP before Tatum.
All right, so that which brings us to a great question, John Jansen. If you were to start a team today and you had your choice
you want
between
chaos.
Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, which one you going with?
Oh, man. I'm going to go Jason Tatum. I feel like consistency from Jaylen Brown is better, and I think you saw that in the postseason, but the highs from Jason Tatum are very good. Very, very good. I think the upside is better. So upside. I would go with, and I do like the fact that he's a win. I would like a guard, and that's I guess another conversation to have is would you just rather take the guard? But I think Tatum, being the size that he is, the shooter that he is, I would be more inclined to take Tatum. And also he can, one-on-one isolation. He's good in those situations as well. So I take Tatum. I think the other side's better with him.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I would probably go Jaylen Brown.
I mean, after these playoffs, I'm not going to argue too much, but yeah.
Well, Tatum. I think there's a few things which you could say about this. First of all, there's no doubt in my mind. Look, Jason Tatum balled, and I don't think he's getting nearly enough credit for whatever reason. He's been a hot topic ever since he came into the league, whatever. But all I know is he led the team in rebounds, points, and assists in the NBA Finals, all the way through the NBA playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. I know he did lead up all the way into the Finals. I think you add this to the mix.
I'd be shocked if he didn't lead the entire way.
Correct. So that's one. Two would be, we never said that Jaylen Brown was better than Jason Tatum. Never. Nobody did.
Nope.
Until now. So I don't think
these conversations have been kind of brewing, I would say. Like it's definitely come up before that.
But nobody said that. Nobody said Jaylen Brown over Jason Tatum.
But I think what was happening is people were starting to question if Jason Tatum was the best player. That did start to happen. I don't know if it was specifically a Brown versus Tatum thing, but it was more of Jason Tatum is good, but Jason Tatum's not that great that, should we be overlooking a Jaylen Brown? Should we be overlooking some of the other contributions that Boston is making and how good the rest of the team is? There has been for a while, or at least because of the playoff issues the last couple of years with Tatum, there has been a questioning of how good he is. And that has really started to leak into, well, what if Jaylen Brown's better? And then Jaylen Brown decided, hey, I'm going to be the best player in the playoffs and the finals and win finals MVP. Yeah. Which is just adding so much more fuel to that fire.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown showed me in the playoffs. Now, again, against the Eastern Conference, but, I'm not going to take anything away from him on that. He was a more physical player, a guy that felt like he demanded the ball. And again, it goes hand in hand because I don't want to slight Jason Tatum because he was able to open things up a ton, and that is their system. That's their style. But if you paid attention, if you watched these games, Jaylen Brown was a beast. He was an absolute stud out there, and no one could defend him. He played better defense than Jason Tatum. I hate to say this too, but it was the first time that I was beaten over the head with it. As far as leadership, he's been mic'd up all the way through this playoffs, including last night. He's the one barking. And again, it's not a slight on Jason Tatum, but hey, man, if this is what you're giving me from the sample, and he was the highest paid player up until, is he still the highest paid player? I think he might be, actually.
I think he might
got
be.
A new contract. Somebody got a new contract that probably passed him. But bottom line is, he's paid like he is the best damn player on that team. And he delivered all the way throughout the course of this playoff run, NBA Finals, MVP. And as I said, just the leadership that he was providing in and out of timeouts, on the floor. It just seemed like he was doing a little bit more. He really was the perfect player, start to finish postseason. I don't think it's a prisoner of moment take. I'll take Jaylen Brown over Jason Tatum. Love to get everybody else involved. That Fox.
Yeah. Also, just to go a step further, just the two of those guys together. That's a great duo. It's a duo that fits really well and it plays well defensively. Plays well on the perimeter defensively. Yeah. Good shooters. Can work on their own in terms of ball handling. It's everything you want. And I love Joel Embiid and I love Tyrese Maxey, but it's. Man, to see two ball handlers one mostly a wing and the other guy a guard, but still two guys that can handle the ball and two guys that can shoot from outside and live on the perimeter and play great defensive perimeter defense. It's like that's what I want to start a team. That's what I would look for first, and then I can find my inside presence. I can find everything else later. I mean, look at these two teams in the finals. Luka and Kyrie, both perimeter players, and same with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I know that's not like a revelation in like an observation of the NBA. Yes, it's more perimeter, but it's just, I think it's being proven over and over again. To do it like that's just going to work so much better.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, DraftKings Sportsbook for next year. Boston Celtics. You going to place a wager on them to run it back?
Might as well.
Who's your toughest competition in the East in your mind?
Wow. It might be the Sixers. For as down as I am on them, and I wouldn't like if they got a Paul George, they're still in the running to get a Paul George, and that would definitely make them one of the better. Because Milwaukee, I don't like anything about Milwaukee.
He ain't coming here.
Well, Milwaukee made too many bad trades in the offseason, like getting rid of Drew Holiday. Looks like it was a really bad idea. And Doc Rivers is still their coach, and that was a nightmare. So I think it might be the Sixers. But the thing is, you say Paul George, but even if it's not Paul George, it's going to be somebody else. So there will be a third player that is going to be better than Tobias Harris on the Sixers next year. And that to me makes them one of the better contenders. Because the Knicks, I don't know what they're going to do this offseason. I don't know what they can do. What can the Knicks do this offseason? Are they pretty much set?
Well, if you believe what was being written of, they're apparently going to.
They got to pay OG Anunoby, right? They've already paid Randall and Jalen Brunson. The good thing is Brunson's not on a max contract.
I think Randall's going to be leaving. Yeah, Brunson's going to get a new deal, and apparently he was going to.
I think they'd be better if Randall leaves.
Yeah. Look, I'm not. We'll see. I think
right.
I think the Pacers could be a team to watch out for, definitely from value perspective. Right now, DraftKings, they popped up to win the East next year. Boston at plus 125, Bucks plus 450, Sixers 6-1, Knicks plus 750, Heat 15-1, Cavs 17-1, then the Pacers at 20-1. To win the East, give me the Pacers. If they get Pascal Siakam back, I think they could add a couple other pieces. And that team and their style, I think, could really, continue to give people headaches, especially come playoff time. So I didn't think it was a fluke that the Pacers were good last year. I didn't think it was a fluke that they got to the ECF. So give me some more of that Pacer magic for next year. Sixers, I don't know. I have no idea what to say about them. Daryl Morey, the keys are in your hand, but guess what? If he doesn't pull the trigger on a good player or two, he'll probably just give himself another contract extension. He'll be the GM/president till 2036. Well-oiled machine down there.
Oh, it's so well done. Everything's great.
All right, let's keep it moving. Nothing more to add on the NBA Finals. Bring on Summer League. I do want to add this caveat. Landon Donovan with his hairpiece was a big talking point on the timeline and on our show yesterday. And I begged him to go shave it, A, or B, get hair plugs. Landon Donovan was texted by a friend. And the friend asked if he could put the text message group chat in social media, on social media. He approved of it. They were having a good chuckle. Shout out to that friend. I don't know who he was, probably a former teammate, whatever. And he said, hey, man, you got to go fire your barber and go check your timeline. Landon was like, dude, I just got hair plugs and I was told that you wouldn't be able to see. So Donovan goes out there, gets some hair plugs, did a little work, a little cosmetic surgery. And next thing you know, here we are. He said it wasn't going to be able to be seen on television. That was clearly not the case.
No.
Yeah. And hair plugs, that's risky back there, Landon. I don't know.
Didn't Joe Buck have a problem with hair plugs?
Yes, he did. He had a hair plug. He was addicted. He had hair plug addiction. Yeah, he was a weirdo. Joe Buck. He's a weirdo. He's a weird guy. It's cosmetic surgery. What do you think? How do you think Joan Rivers turned into Joan Rivers?
Yeah, there you go.
Dude, there's a show.
Are you gonna do any cosmetic surgery? You know, you're getting close to that age. Start thinking about it.
The bags underneath my eyes.
Oh, I'm gonna have that problem. Yeah, I already kind of do a little bit.
I would like to start doing something like cream, whatever, just whatever works. I don't care. If you told me get a shot 3 times a year and that's gonna go, dude, I'm an old man. Of course I would. Now, over the next 10 years, once I turn 50, I hope I'm like 52, 53 and not giving a damn. You know, if I got bags underneath my eyes right now, I do care still. I do. I look in that mirror, I'm like, damn, dude, look like I haven't slept in 3 days.
But you're not going to turn into like a plastic Ken doll. You're not, nothing, no Botox or anything.
There's a video on the timeline right now of these plastic surgery doctors, and they are being asked about this reality TV show. It's like Love Island or something. You know, there's a million of them out there, but these girls were shown, and this is scary. And the doctor had to guess how old they were. And he guessed like 42, 32, 35. Dude, the oldest one was 25 years old.
Oh, jeez. Did they all have a bunch of cosmetic surgery? Oh. Yeah.
Lips, brows, cheeks, Botox. Yeah, not good.
I'm too scared of that stuff to ever do it. Like, because most of that's like needles and it's expensive. Yeah. But I don't like needles. So most of that stuff has to deal with like injections and all this. I don't need that.
Yeah.
I don't need
to the gym, get a good workout, go run. You feel better about life.
Don't care.
And you don't have to spend money.
I just don't care. Don't do any of that stuff.
Or that. All right. I want to get into this conversation. All right. And without getting too much into the details, I upset a golf writer this morning. Who I follow and I think does a great job too. So, you know, I wrote #take a lap as a joke, but you know how tweets kind of get lost in translation, like text messages, whatever. Maybe it was a little strong. It definitely bothered
me. A little strong. Take a lap's funny as hell, though. I will give you that. Take a lap's really funny.
All right.
You did. I'm seeing it right now. #take a lap. Okay.
So the reason why I wrote that is because everybody is talking about this. Oh, Bryson. Everybody loves Bryson. How did this come about? Everybody hated him. Well, first of all, I never hated Bryson DeChambeau. And I think a lot of people are on the same wavelength as I am, right? There's no reason to hate. Dude's a hell of a player. Again, he won pandemic US Open. Before that, he's won many events. Off the top of my head, I don't know exactly the number. I'll have to do some digging, but that dude's won John Deere Classic. That dude's he's a hell of a golfer. I don't have to go into it because I told you yesterday, like the mad scientist deal was cool to me. Putting on the food, blah, 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 or putting on the pounds, pounding all the shakes. Like, all right, dude's trying to change the game. That was cool to me. I like that. For some odd reason, people were bothered by it. It is what it is. I think the national media needs to look at themselves in the mirror a little bit because they always had something snarky to say. Okay. So maybe this media member, if he wants to get a PR team to look into why everyone loves Bryson DeChambeau, maybe start there. Maybe start by what's being said by the national golf media, but I'll move on. He won, John. That's it. Right? Like this dude went to live and it felt like it was split, and then all of a sudden now they're working together. Everybody wants to come into cahoots together. Everybody wants that big paycheck. So now they're trying to work a deal. And obviously the hatred for Liv kind of dissipated a little bit, right? And of course, Bryson DeChambeau, a hell of a golfer. Brooks Koepka, a hell of a golfer. Like after that list on the Live Tour, we talked about this yesterday. It ends because they all stink. They're all bad golf.
It's just bad golf in general. Yeah.
All right. So here we are. Bryson DeChambeau goes on a run at the PGA Championship. He makes unbelievable golf shots. He is a USA citizen. People want to be entertained. He is entertaining. Right? So you're able to put all the other nonsense behind you and realize that this guy is a hell of a golfer. I'm watching it in front of me, and he comes up just short to Xander Schauffele at the PGA Championship. Okay. So now people are starting to change maybe the people that didn't like Bryson are starting to change their vibes about him for whatever reason. Okay. My thought is, dude just competed for the PGA Championship. Made a bunch of shots and was fun.
Right. Well, that's the thing is fun golfer and just fun to watch. And the way he golfs. Yeah, really fun to watch. He
mashes it. All right. It's the same reason why everybody loves Caitlin Clark and Steph Curry because they shoot from the logo. All right. Bryson DeChambeau, everybody loves Bryson because he mashes it. And he's a hell of a golfer. And he won. And he won this weekend. And he did it his way. He was talking to the people in the stands, talking to the people around the box, joking with them, signing autographs. He is a good dude behind the scenes, and he won. That's it. Like, if it's Dustin Johnson yesterday, and that's a tough one because everyone always loved Dustin. I get it. But the USA chants are going to happen for whatever golfer, hear me out, that's from this country, that is in contention. And oh, by the way, when they're competing against a guy like Rory or a guy, Pavon from France, you're going to hear those USA chants. You're going to hear those USA chants. It's the US Open. It's our golfer. You're right. Like it's not hard for me to understand this, but I'm bouncing this off of you. This golf writer got upset with me and he wrote, he won the U.S. Open 4 years ago and everyone hated him. Takes a lot more than just winning. Nobody loved him a few years ago, and last month everybody loved him when he lost. But again, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, he lost. He was the runner-up. Xander Schauffele made a tough putt on 18. If he didn't, they were going to extra holes. He won.
Well, yeah, I would just like to what has he done that's been different than what Bryce usually does? I'm sure Bryce has always signed autographs. I'm sure he's given golf balls out to people. Bryson. Right. My bad. Bryson. Bryson DeChambeau has probably done all these things his entire career, but he came on when he had this massive body change and he's talking, I want to be the biggest master in the tour. He was talking all these huge, crazy things. And it really ruffled the feathers of the golf world. And he came so strong. And the thing is, though, the personality hasn't changed. Bryson DeChambeau is probably going to say something stupid in the next month. And everybody's going to be like, why the heck would he say that stupid thing? And then we're all not going to care. It's just that I think he came on so strong initially that it was going to take time for whatever that was to just die down. So yeah, a few years ago, it didn't die down. A few years ago, Bryson DeChambeau was still this loud, big meathead that was going, that's saying he's going to change the game of golf, and everybody doesn't want to hear that. But now we're a few years removed from that, and everybody's just watching him golf instead of like trying to hear him say that he's the greatest thing in golf right now and that he's changing the sport. And so now you can just watch and appreciate, yeah, this guy really he didn't change golf, but he changed his golf swing. He changed the way he played golf, and it's a really fun, good brand of golf, and it's winning him tournaments. Like, this guy's successful at winning tournaments. It's just that now we're not hearing all the time, well, I'm changing the sport. I'm changing the way things are done. Like, once that went away, once that noise died down, I think everybody could just watch him and appreciate this guy is doing things a bit differently than the rest on the PGA Tour, and it's working, and it's successful.
Well, if Bryson DeChambeau wasn't in contention to be the runner-up, if he was 8th at the PGA Championship, I don't think he's getting the same fanfare. If he finishes 5th yesterday on Sunday, he's clearly not getting the same fanfare. He won.
Right. To your point, it was starting to build that, like, Bryson was starting to get a little bit more love, and the culmination of that is eventually winning the U.S. Open. But again, it's like this. The whole perception changes because Bryson a few years ago was again probably the same way. This guy was the same personality. He still probably got drinks after whatever PGA or major championship he won, and was out golfing late at night and doing all these things. Like all these, Bryson was doing all of that, but now just people care because everything that he did that people hated isn't happening. Like it's so far in the rearview mirror now.
And by the way, it's about growth. Bryson DeChambeau, who he is right now versus 4 years ago, he's not the same person. Number one. Number two is check the bank account. That's going to loosen you up a little bit. What's he got? What did he get to go play live? $250 million, $300 million, if not more? He better be paid more. He better be paid as much as anybody to go over there.
I wouldn't blame him for feeling jaded because it wasn't just fans that were giving him crap. It was, golf commentators, people around the tour that were giving him
everybody was on Team Brooks. Everybody was on Team Brooks. Nobody was on Team Bryson except for me. I was on Team Bryson. Run those shows back.
You were on Team Bryson. I think I was.
I've always been Bryson. Yeah, Brooks to me. Whatever. I think we discussed that yesterday. I don't even care to get into it. Again, take a lap, little strong. I apologize, Jason Sobel. But it was
take a lap's funny. You should not apologize for that. Take a lap's kind of funny.
But I'm not a dick. Sorry. I'm not, I try not to be. I'm joking. Take a lap.
I know, it's so hard too on social media. That's the thing I'm finding out is like, I also don't want to be like, I am trying to actively remind myself, don't be an ass. It's just sports.
Everybody else is.
But that's the thing is everybody starts coming at me or like stuff happens and everybody's like yelling about all this stuff. I just want to go, shut up. Everybody just shut up for 5 seconds. Can we shut up? So I don't know. I'm trying to be nicer on social media. It's just I don't know.
I ain't gonna get you anywhere, John Jansen.
I'm
in the mud.
I know you're in the mud all the time. You're arguing with Jay. You're telling dudes to take a lap at 9.
Yeah, you're right. I took in the mud out of my bio, or more mud 2-4 out of my bio. Yeah.
Why?
Because we're halfway through 2-4. That's not the way to live.
I don't know. You were living pretty good in the mud.
And I had to add one man's take and hashtag take a lap.
Take a lap's really good.
All right. Let's take a lap. A final spin here on the Phillies. The Phillies are coming up today. Nice win yesterday over the Padres. Trey Turner, welcome back. I'm glad we didn't put him in right field or wherever anybody was suggesting. Pretty good shortstop too.
Yeah.
Nola on the mound today, -142. Michael King in the Padres, +126, 41st pitch, 8.5. Hey, baby, they're back. They're back in the bank, and I think the vibes are high. I think Nola has a hell of an outing tonight. Give me the Phillies again, and I'll even take them at +142, -1.5, sir.
Yeah, I mean, these road trips are the only thing that's really killing them so far this season because they had a bad West Coast trip before they came back home before they went to London, but then they went to London and then went to Boston, Baltimore. But what always gets this team back on track after that is home cooking. They're 28-10 at home. They are a fantastic home team. We saw that yesterday. The offense has been really struggling, and the offense immediately, Kyle Schwarber, 2 home runs. Trey Turner gets a couple of hits in his first game back. And I think you're going to see a lot of the same here against Michael King. Michael King, a 1.23 whip, 3.58 ERA, which is fine, but more of the whip. He is giving up a decent amount of runners and walks as well. But I just think he's a righty bat. So any lefty in the lineup and looking strictly at you, Kyle Schwarber, go on ahead, step right up. He's on fire right now. It's hard to call another like a back-to-back games of home runs, but in Citizens Bank Park, he's fantastic. And in the month of June, he is also absolutely fantastic. So I wouldn't blame anyone for going back to that.
Luke Arcani, fantastic follow on all things socials. Arcani Luke, and he's all over it. Kyle Schwarber is now the all-time Phillies leader in at-bats, home run after last night's 2 homers. 13.1. That's ahead of Tomey, Ryan Howard, Schmidt, Hoskins, Harper, all of the above. Pretty crazy because we have to talk about Kyle Schwarber as one of the greatest home run hitters in Phillies history. I'll still take Ryan Howard over him, but these numbers continue to add up. It's fun.
Well, yeah, a lot of those are late career Howard numbers too. So take that into account. That Kyle Schwarber is like still in his prime, I guess, of home run hitting. When you take a look at the at-bat to home run ratio, Ryan Howard, that's also end of career post Achilles Ryan Howard, which did not help. I mean, his home run numbers and the pace that he was on was ridiculous when he ridiculous.
Ryan, he had six years.
Like the fact that Kyle Schwarber is doing this and Ryan Howard's like just right behind him is pretty wild. And I think Jim Tomey as well. Jim Tomey's right above Howard, but that's pretty wild to me.
Yeah, Ryan Howard in his rookie season, he had I used to know these off the top of my head. He had 22 bombs, 63 RBIs, and then from there, 58, 149, 47, 136, 48, 146, 45, 141, 31, 108, 33, 116. That was the year he got hurt, and then he finished.
Yeah, he is. I know the records that he has that are really good is he's the fastest, I think, to 100 and 200 home runs.
Yeah, he was a sicko. He was a sicko. And I know that there was another station in town talking about their Mount Rushmore. If you have a Mount Rushmore of and it's always tough, but with all love and respect, you got to have Rollins and Howard in front of Utley. You just do.
It depends on the qualifications because I understand Utley's the better player.
Importance to those teams in that run. I'll say Howard over both of them.
Importance. I would say Howard was the face of the franchise. Howard was the face. He was it. Like Utley was not the face of the team. Even Rollins afterwards wasn't. Ryan Howard was the one that was plastered everywhere over ESPN. Everywhere. Dude, we were talking about trading. Like, who would you start a franchise with? Albert Pujols or Ryan Howard? Like, that's the conversations we were having about Howard. Like Ryan Howard was huge. He was the one doing Subway commercials. He was the one going on The Office and doing a TV show. Like he was the one doing all this stuff. I know Utley and Rollins was like the vocal leader. He was the leader that we looked at, here in Philly regionally. But in terms of national, the first player that they showed every time when it's a Sunday night baseball graphic and they're showing the best player on the team or they're showing the player that everybody wants to see, Ryan Howard was literally must-see television for all of Major League Baseball. Like he was must-see television. So Utley ended up being the better player than all three of them. I think Utley's the better player out of all three of them and is the likely one to end up in the Hall of Fame. But there are other factors I think you include into that, and especially Ryan Howard at his peak. Chase Utley never got close to Ryan Howard's peak. Never got close to that. Chase Utley was a great player. Chase Utley was almost an elite player. Like he had a few seasons of 900 OPS, which is great. Ryan Howard, though, had one of the best pure modern home run seasons and power seasons we've ever seen from it.
Multiple. Yeah.
Multiple, right.
Ryan, without Ryan Howard, they're not having the success that they had. Jimmy, unbelievable. You nailed it with the vocal leader, but obviously won the MVP. Fantastic. Clutch hits, all the above. Utley and Rollins is a tough conversation for me. Howard always in front of those guys. No ifs, buts about it. And I'm glad we had that revisit down memory lane there as far as with the Ryan Howard Subway commercials and all that, because you are right about that.
Oh my God. I think people are forgetting that. Like, because Howard was loved here, but I think it's clouded because right after all of that, he got the big contract and he wasn't performing as well. So sometimes people can't look back in this city, look back at that and realize how big of a superstar he was. Dude, we were talking about Ryan Howard, and national media was talking about Ryan Howard like he was the greatest baseball player on the planet. Like, that's the conversations you were in. Like, he was in all of those conversations. Like, he was the national guy. He was the national one that everybody wanted to see. It wasn't Utley. Nobody was tuning in for Utley and Rollins. Everybody was tuning in for Ryan Howard. Everybody.
Damn right. All right. I like the Phillies today. -142, 6:40 first pitch.
Are they at home? And
home.
Yeah, Aaron Nola on the mound. Yep. Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Hey, coming up next, a replay of the episode 2 from our college football summer ball edition. We are not recording today, which is unfortunate, but we'll be back at it. Episode 3 with the Big Ten next week. But we're going to run back the SEC edition because, of course, still the top dog of them all with only 4 college football conferences. So that's coming up next. John Jansen, any final thoughts?
No final thoughts at all. Go Phils.
Yeah, go Phils. All right, back tomorrow.
Jason Tatum, kind of weird guy. A little bit of a weird dude.
Yeah, he's emotional.
All this stuff. We finally did it.
Yeah.
He's like, what would happen if we lost? We'll never know.
Well, that's a Kanye deal.
I know. But like, he's unloading the clip on references, and it's like he's been rehearsing this for years.
Well, when you're up 3 games to none, you can rehearse. All right, John. Good stuff as always. All right, boys and girls, everybody, enjoy the rest of your day. SEC Summer Ball Edition coming up next. Talk to you.